I actually can hear you.
All right, that's a lot better. I can hear you guys as well. Okay, so let's get into it. Today we're going to be making a beef stir fry. It sounds like it may be a little complicated, but very easy. We're going to be using a lot of fresh vegetables, which you guys know I love to cook with. Of course, we have a lot of different spices, and we're going to be making a sauce that kind of goes along with the noodles, so we can kind of pull it together into that nice stir fry, okay? So let's go over some of the ingredients we're going to be using today. This little strange solution right here is called a slurry. So it's 1 part cornstarch to 2 parts water. So this is going to be a thickener that we're going to be using to thicken up the sauce as we go along making the stir fry. And we're going to be making the sauce with a little bit of, this is called, it's almost like soy sauce, but it's Maggi seasoning, but you can also use soy sauce as, you know, a substitute. We're going to be using some lime juice. This is about 2 ounces or 2 tablespoons of lime juice. I always have salt and pepper for seasoning. We're going to be using some red pepper flakes for a little bit of spice, onion powder, and we're going to be using some brown sugar to kind of even out that bitterness from the lime juice and the soy sauce, okay? And this is a little bit of teriyaki marinade. So if you have a little bit of teriyaki sauce or even hoisin sauce that we used on our last couple videos, you can also use that as a substitute today as well, and even oyster sauce. So let's go over some of our vegetables. This is a Thai-based chili, okay? So this is optional. You guys know I like to cook with a lot of spice. So this right here will be very pungent if you cut it open, but if you just kind of cook with it closed up, and it just add a slight kick. So like I said, this is an either or for you. We're going to be using some red bell pepper. We're going to be using a green bell pepper, some white mushrooms, green onions, and some garlic. Now, you know, with all of the vegetables, this is all good in vitamin D, you guys. This is really good for your blood flow. I love red bell peppers. I eat them almost every other day. I feel like it's a, you know, it's not a bitter vegetable, but it's something that, you know, you can eat raw or cooked. And it has really great health benefits as well. Thank you. This is a little bit of sambal oleg. This is another spicy additive that we're going to put to the sauce. But like I said, all these spices are optional, but it's always good to have a little bit of kick. It cleans your system out, opens up your sinuses, you know, and it's just really flavorful. So we're also going to be working with some protein today. A little bit of red meat. We don't use a lot of it in the urban kitchen, but this is a very, very thin slice, almost like a Philly cheesesteak. So you can get this at your local Ralph's. If not, you can get you a nice piece of New York strip and cut it thinly, or you can substitute it for chicken, shrimp, even fish, any protein, or you can do vegetarian, no protein, okay? The noodles that I'm going to be using today, these are Yakisoba noodles. Now, I purchased these at Restaurant Depot, but they do have these at your grocery store. They come, usually I see them in the produce aisle, like where they have like the packaged fruit in the salad. I've seen the Kroger brand. I've used, I can't remember the Asian brand that I use, but it's really popular. They also have wontons in the same brand. So if you want to substitute that, you can use spaghetti. That's not a problem. Whole wheat pasta is a really good substitute for this as well, because, you know, whole wheat is not adding a lot of carbohydrates to your diet. If you're watching that, especially if you're pre-diabetic, if you are diabetic, you know, all those carbohydrates turn to sugar. So I would definitely recommend using a whole wheat noodle, or you can use a yakisoba buckwheat noodle. I used to use that a lot when I was in culinary school. Like, we cook with them, like they're almost like a gray noodle, but they're really, really flavorful. You can eat them cold. I've seen several cold salads that are made with them. So you can actually make this cold and kind of keep it for the week. So if you want to substitute and use that noodle, that's fine as well. So let's kind of get into this. We have a lot of chopping to do today. I'm gonna start with taking off these stickers since my preps didn't. Sorry. That's fine. Take off the stickers, and then I'm gonna give this a nice rinse because I feel like if they didn't take the sticker off, it would rinse. So let's check. Right. 1 second, guys. Well, this one thing was all right, guys, I'm back. So you guys know I don't want to show you guys anything that I wouldn't do here in the Urban Kitchen for our regular service. So we don't want to do any cross-contamination. So Janelle just reminded me because, you know, sometimes I'm kind of preoccupied with, you know, talking to you guys. So I'm going to make sure we substitute out these cutting boards. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one out the way. We're going to reserve it for our protein since it was already on it. I'm just going to set it right back here. And I'm gonna go and move this one over for our vegetables. Now, if you're cooking this along with me at home, you wanna go ahead and start with some water or boil your pasta up, or you can kind of have your pasta cook. And I have my water going because this noodle cooks really quick. It's literally like a deep, you know, a dip in the pool and right out the pool. Do you mind handing me one of the pasta dips right there? This is actually called a pasta drop. They use this in restaurant service. You can use this at home. They carry these Target, Walmart, and they're really, really good if you're trying to make, you know, 2 different pastas, or if you want to use that water for something else, you can kind of pull this out and it's already made inside its own little basket. I'll bring my water back up to heat for a second. All right, so let's go ahead and start with chopping down the bell pepper. Now we've gone over, you know, the bell pepper and cutting all of our vegetables. I know you guys are pretty familiar with that now. So, you know, guys, if any questions during the video or after, you can go ahead and send that to Nelly and I, and we will go ahead and do a refresher. Right now I'm just taking the vein out, taking the seeds out. I'm probably just gonna use half of the bell pepper because I'm just making a serving for me and Chanel in the kitchen. But if you're at home and you're cooking for 4 or more, you definitely want to use the whole bell pepper. What's the vein? When you say the vein, what do you mean by the vein? Oh, so the vein is this middle part. Like when we did the stuffed bell peppers, we gone over this. Like we take out this part, guys, the core and the vein. We just make sure we take it out. Some people cook with it. I take it out for presentation reasons, and I feel like this middle section is like rubbery, spongy, and it's not flavorful. So I'm just gonna take that out. And we're gonna do the same thing with the green bell pepper. Can you give me a little trash bowl? Oh, sorry. So I got a new knife, guys. It's so sharp. I'm scared. Janelle told me I had to use the knife glove with it. I should. So my water is boiling like really quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut these julienne. Now we've gone over that before, you know, so we thinly slice the vegetable in a nice, you know, stir-fry look. We don't want to have big chunks and we're eating noodles, so we kind of want everything to be like the same shape, so you can kind of twist it around the fork or the chopstick or whatever utensil you're going to be using. Okay. You can do a short wise, or you can do it. Oh, you know what? I meant to add, guys. You can definitely do this with rice. So if you want to use brown rice or white rice, this will taste great with that. I just wanted to add that in there if you don't have any pasta. Go ahead and cut this down. side. Same thing with this one. You guys, when I tell you this knife is so sharp. This is a santoku. It's really nice. I got it from one of the cooks that comes and helps us out sometimes. He always blesses Janelle and I with nice kitchen stuff. So it's good to have good friends. Take this vein out. And if you guys want to take this with no carbs, that's good too. You know, you don't have to have any pasta or rice involved in this. Right, and then we're gonna take our green onions. And you know what? We're gonna leave the green onions kind of large. I'm not gonna chop them down like it would be for garnish. I'm just gonna do them in a nice bias, okay? What I mean by that, like a slant cut, and we're gonna leave them kind of large, right? Even some of these scallions at the bottom, right? I really like green onions. It's a preference, once again, if you don't want to put that many. Now onto the mushrooms. I feel like mushrooms really do accompany the steak. Anytime you do burgers, like I love to put mushrooms on my burger, blue cheese. Ooh, maybe we'll do steakhouse burgers. Let me know if you guys are interested. Yeah, so I like to add a mushroom with red meat. So with the button mushrooms or white mushrooms, go ahead and pop out the bottom. Some people like to keep it on, I don't. So I just kind of take that out and just kind of knock it to one side and it pops right out. All right. And then I'm just going to chop these down. Actually, I'm going to give them a rinse. See, they weren't doing their job. Okay, one more. All right, guys. And now I'm just going to cut these. Let's cut them like maybe not even 1/8 of an inch thick, you know, kind of thinly sliced. Okay. Make sure you check the other side of your knife. The mushrooms and onions tend to get stuck. I don't know why. Same thing. And you guys know I can't cook anything without garlic. So now we're gonna put these aside and I'm gonna go ahead and chop down my garlic really, really fine, guys. I'm sure you guys may have garlic left from last week. Because I always have you guys chopping down garlic. So I'm not so many, but maybe about 3 cloves. All right. And if you have already chopped garlic, I truly understand. But I will tell you, there is a different taste that comes from using fresh garlic and canned garlic, or jarred garlic. It's sitting in the olive oil, which is good because it's getting and adding flavor. But at the same time, it's still adding sodium to your dish that's not needed. And I just feel like the fresh garlic is just better. I don't know, it has better flavor. Chopping these down. You know, garlic is really good for you if you're trying to fight a cold. Eating a whole garlic clove. I know it may sound nasty. Even smashing them and putting them at the bottom of your feet. That's really good wonders. I do that to my son when he comes down with a cold. So yeah, check out some health benefits on garlic. All right. So we want it fine. All right. if you want to add onion to this recipe, I definitely would recommend. Unfortunately, I don't have an onion today. In the urban kitchen, we're doing, it's Tuesday, we're getting ready to re up for the week, and I don't have an onion, but that would definitely go well in here if you want to substitute and do so. So lastly, our chili. I'm going to open up maybe one or two. This one is really hot, right? And keep that one closed and keep it to the side. But these two, I'm gonna slightly open up, just kind of score them just a little bit. When I mean that, I mean like when you score a hot dog before you put it on the grill, just kind of open it up just a little bit so some of that heat escapes while you're cooking. All right. Cut that one a little too much. Now let me see if I have my, is this my? Yes, okay, my sesame oil. Make sure she gets my sesame oil. All right, so we're gonna start with first searing off the steak. It's really important that we start with our protein because we want that to get a little bit of caramelization. And if we add the vegetables into the pan first, we're gonna create a lot of moisture. And we don't wanna create a lot of moisture when we're cooking meat because then we're gonna create steaming and that's not gonna give us any color on the meat. And that's not what we're looking for. So I'm gonna move this cutting board out the way so we can season up this steak. We're gonna cut it down just a little bit into a couple of little strips because why not? You can leave it whole. This is very thin. Depending on, I'll probably leave it whole because it's starting to break. Okay, because this is like Philly cheesesteak thin cut meat that we use for this recipe. Like I said, if you can use a different protein or a different cut of the steak will do the same trick. I'm gonna make sure my wok is getting hot. Just turn it all the way up. So while that heats up, I'm gonna grab some paper towels so that I can lightly dab some of this moisture off of the meat. All right, sorry about that, guys. So I just want to dab some of this moisture off. When you're making any type of protein, you definitely want to make sure you're taking most of the moisture off, even if you're doing a marinade. That's why marinades are intended to be done overnight. Or you can do some 30-minute marinade. But I feel like for most proteins, especially like chicken, I'm really keen on chicken breasts specifically being marinated overnight. I just feel like it doesn't take any flavor with like a 30-second ordeal because it just doesn't. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like it's able to penetrate through the meat. And it's just better to kind of get it in there with a good acid or vinegar overnight. Okay. So with steak, being that, it's one of those meats that you kind of want to pay attention to, depending on how you eat your steak. I know a lot of people like their steak well done. I like my steak medium. So with that being said, you don't have to really marinate that overnight because when you add an acid or vinegar or anything like that to a protein, like I said before, it starts to cook that meat. So if you like your steak cooked at a certain temp, you kind of want to watch what you're putting on it. And that's why a lot of people, when they are seasoning steak, they only do it with like a salt and pepper and they kind of sear it and then they add flavor throughout the cooking process because you don't want to ruin the flavor of the meat. It kind of brings out its own flavor within having that blood. So just a little, little info for you. So let's go ahead and season this with the salt and pepper. We like to use heavy coarse pepper here in the urban kitchen. because I mean, it just needs a little kick sometimes, you know? And be a little generous, okay, guys? All right. Let's see if our wok is heated up. A good trick to see if your pan is to the temperature that you need it to be, you can start putting your oil in there and then you can start seeing if it starts to mirror. You'll notice like little reflections of the light. So I'm gonna put this in there. This is my sesame oil. All right. So I'm gonna let it get a little warmer. It's hot, but we want to make sure that we're hearing it once we drop it, right? Because that ensures that we're gonna be getting a good color on the meat. So let's go ahead and start mixing our sauce into a little bowl while that heats up. So we're gonna add our Maggi seasoning or your soy sauce. A little bit more of the teriyaki seasoning. About 2 more tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. 1 tablespoon of the onion powder, not so much, just a little bit of flavor. Now, like I said, the red pepper flakes are optional. I'm gonna go ahead and add about 1 tablespoon. I like things spicy. No wrong. The lime juice. And like I said, the sambal oelek, if you would like to add a little kick to it. Do we have any tasting spoons back there, guys? Oh, looking at right there at the top. Oh. Okay, so my pan is ready. You guys can see the smoke. Set that to the side. All right. And then we're gonna go ahead and give this a nice stir. And break that sugar down. We definitely don't want to put the sugar directly into, never put a sugar directly into a pan with high heat. It will just burn and it will stink and it will never come out the pan. So you want to make sure that you are dissolving it in the liquid first before we add it. So we'll let this hang out on the side, and now we're going to add our steak meat directly into the pan. Mine is starting to break apart. All right, so we're gonna break it up. So you definitely want to make sure you cook this more than halfway through before you add your vegetables, okay? Some recipes call for you to remove it from the pot, from the pan. I don't think you really need to, especially because it's such a thin cut of meat. And you know it's gonna get overcooked anyway, right? Because we're tossing it back and forth in the heat. So if you do cut your meat in a thicker, a little bit thicker, then yeah, you can control that with the cooking process and kind of take it out. So it won't be overcooked once you add it to your noodles. Okay. So my meat is more than halfway finished. see that? Okay, so we like that juice at the bottom. That's gonna add flavor to our sauce, all right? So we're gonna keep that in there and we're gonna start adding our vegetables directly in. So in with the garlic, your mushrooms, everything, guys. So at this point, I'm gonna season again with a little bit of salt and pepper, just because we're adding in some moisture, which creates water, and that can die down some of the seasoning. So we're just gonna give it a refresh. And we want these vegetables to get really brown. It's not really brown, we want it a little crisp, but we definitely want them to start cooking, all right? My pan is kind of heavy, so I'm trying to sorry about that. I'm just gonna finish them off at the back, guys, just because that takes a minute to come up to heat. There we go. So I wanted you guys to be able to hear that sound and that sizzle. That's how it should sound at home on the stove. And we definitely want those mushrooms to cook, okay? So that's why I kind of moved it back here. So as that continues to cook, I'm gonna get the pasta. Like I said, this is gonna be a really quick drop and blanch process. I'm not going to leave them in there a long time because we're gonna be adding in some more heat. And with that heat, we don't want them to overcook and get too gummy, okay? So I'm just bringing this back up to heat in my back pilot. Sorry, that. So it's looking really good, guys. Take a look. All right. So now we're gonna start adding our sauce. Okay. So we're able to all right, guys. So the sauce that we just previously made, we're gonna go ahead and put it straight into the wok or your pan. And then with the slurry, like I said, guys, this is 1 part cornstarch to 2 parts water. So if you're at home and you're gonna be doing this, you're gonna add 1 tablespoon, or you can do a 1/4 cup of cornstarch to a 1/2 cup of water. Okay, and then you would get a spoon and you would just lightly stir it together until it becomes like a little paste. Okay. Now we're not going to use all of this because it doesn't require to be that thick. You actually want to add this generously. I mean, excuse me, not generously. You want to add this a little bit at a time so that you're able to manage the thickness of the sauce. Okay. I just made this much just in case. So I'm gonna go in with a tablespoon. And you'll see that it'll start thickening up very quickly. All right. So now at this one, I'm gonna drop my pasta right into my little basket. Shimmy it down. I'm going to a bowl of plate. All right, guys, so out with the pasta. It's gonna go directly into the wok. And then I'm just going to toss it. Off the fire. You're going to go straight into the bowl. All right, guys. So I'm gonna cut a little bit of green onion for garnish. Even though it has green onions in it, you know, it's a different taste. It's a different taste when between it being raw and it being cooked. And there we go, guys. So it's kind of like having Guinness Con at home. I don't know if you guys like that place in the mall. I do. I go and get all my little favorite veggies and get it tossed. But there you go, guys. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. But this is our meal for tomorrow, and we'll see you guys then. Thank you.